Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. We have started discussing Wordsworth's theory of poetry as discussed in his preface to lyrical ballads. And this theory of poetry consists of, as we have already talked about it, five items. The first item is what is a poet, and we have already done this. The second point is what is poetry. This also has already been done. And the third point, which is the topic for today's lecture, is poetic truth. What is poetic truth? So this is the third item in his theory of poetry, and we will discuss this third item, the meaning of poetic truth. Uh, Poetic truth is the part of uh, this theory of poetry, Wordsworth's theory of poetry, as he has told us about this in his preface to lyrical ballads. Wordsworth says that Aristotle, I have been told, when he says, I have been told, this means that he himself had not studied Aristotle, but that he was told by someone, had said that poetry is the most philosophic of all writing. Yes, of course, this is something which Aristotle has said, and we have discussed this point in Aristotle's Poetics, where he tells us that it is uh, more philosophic as compared to history or as compared to philosophy. Because Aristotle says that history deals with particular people. For example, um, Imran Khan or Nawaz Sharif or Zulfikar Ali Bhutto um, or Ziaul Haq. These are particular people. Philosophy, on the other hand, deals with precepts. Precepts means rules, teachings, advices. This is what philosophy is all about. Poetry, contrasted with these two, combines these two. It gives you examples, it also gives you precepts. So, therefore, it is more philosophic as compared to history or as compared to philosophy. Poetry actually deals with universals. The characters and the objects are universal objects which are discussed in poetry. So, therefore, history, which talks about the particulars, and philosophy, which talks about the precepts. Poetry, on the other hand, is better than these two because it combines the two and it talks about the universals. The object of poetry, according to Wordsworth, is truth. It is the truth in which the poet is interested or in which poetry is interested, but this truth is not individual or local. This truth is not, uh, it does not belong to a single person, neither is it local, but it is general and it is operative and universal. So, once again, giving a greater status to poetry, as was given by Aristotle, he tells us that the object of poetry is truth. However, this truth is not the factual truth and it does not require any verification. Uh, Whenever we try to um, give some idea, let's say, for example, from history, then we give also its proof. We talk about the newspapers of that time, the biographies of these people, and as a result, we give the verification of this truth. But this truth, that is the poetic truth, does not need any verification. In Wordsworth's words, he says, not standing upon external testimony, the truth of poetry does not need external verification, external testimony, but carried alive into the heart by passion. It is a passionate expression, and this passionate expression is taken to the heart. It goes from one heart, the heart of the poet, to the other heart or hearts of the reader. So, as a result, no external testimony or verification is needed for it. The important thing is passion. Now we know that this passion or emotion was not there in New Classical age, and the idea is contrasted with their idea. So it has its own validity, and the heart is able to recognize this truth on its own. Why is this so? We have discussed this point earlier that the same spirit passes through human beings, and the same spirit passes through the external objects of nature, trees, rills, rivers, sky, moon, sun, and all these. The spirit that passes through human beings passes through them too. So we are all connected. The poet talks about the external nature, for example. If he talks about the external nature, that external nature has that same spirit which the reader has or which the poet has. And as a result, when the reader hears it, he recognizes that truth because it is about the external nature which has the same spirit. It is about the same spirit which he himself has. So, as a result, the same truth which, which are revealed in the mind of man are revealed in nature. And when a human being, whether a poet or a reader, reads the poetic lines, he suddenly recognizes that truth without any verification due to the presence of that spirit in his mind, which goes also and passes also through nature. Coleridge's idea was quite different, and we will discuss it in Biographia Literaria. He said that we first recognize the truth in us. It's a little different from Wordsworthian idea. We recognize the truth in ourselves, and then we try to find out and see the same truth in nature. So if we are happy, we give this happiness to nature, and this happiness is given again by nature to us. So nature doesn't have that effect on us. We have that effect on the nature. This is what Coleridge says, and we discuss it in Biographia Literaria. The same nature, as we said, is revealed in both nature and the mind of man, and we are connected. We are connected with each other, and we are connected with God. The mind and the universe are the two manifestations of one God, and we all are connected. So we have affinity, we have closeness of the mind of man and closeness with nature, and there is a relationship. Um, each is related to each, and each is also related to all. So everything is related, and this is a kind of web work. Harming one person hurts all because of that same spirit which passes through all. Therefore, we have a single brotherhood, we have sympathy, and we have love with each other. So this is how that poetic truth doesn't need any outside verification. इसको आप जरा उर्दू में भी सुन लें. ये हमारा नेक्स्ट आइटम है, चौथा आइटम है वर्ड्सवर्थ थ्योरी ऑफ पोएट्री के हवाले से. ये पोएटिक ट्रूथ क्या है? वर्ड्सवर्थ कहता है कि मैंने सुना है, अरिस्टोटल ने कहा है कि पोएट्री ज्यादा फिलोसॉफिक है बनिस्बत और राइटिंग की. और जब वो कहता है मैंने सुना है, तो इसका मतलब ये उसने खुद पढ़ा नहीं. शायद कॉलेज से सुना हो, उसका करीबी दोस्त था और फिलोसोफर टाइप की था, और उसने अरिस्टोटल को भी पढ़ा था और दूसरे फिलोसोफर्स को भी पढ़ा था. तो ये तो अरिस्टोटल ने कहा था कि ये ज्यादा फिलोसॉफिक है हिस्ट्री से, क्योंकि हिस्ट्री खास लोगों की बात करता है. पर्टिकुलर की बात करता है, पोएट्री यूनिवर्सल की बात करता है। फिलोसफी आपको टीचिंग देता है, ये करें ये ना करें, ट्रूथ क्या है, इसको कैसे पाएंगे वगैरह। जबकि पोएट्री प्रीसेप्ट्स के भी देता है और पर्टिकुलर की एग्जाम्पल, ये दोनों को कंबाइंड भी करता है। तो इस वजह से ये ज्यादा फिलोसॉफिक है। और पोइट्री का ऑब्जेक्ट जो है वो है ट्रूथ बताना। ये ट्रूथ शख्सी भी नहीं है और लोकल भी नहीं है, बल्कि ये यूनिवर्सल है, जनरल है, ऑपरेटिव है, तमाम लोगों में, तमाम चीज़ों में ये मौजूद है, पाया जाता है, ऑपरेट करता है। और इसके लिए आउटसाइड वेरिफिकेशन यानी सबूत की ज़रूरत नहीं है कि ये ट्रूथ है कि नहीं, क्योंकि सबूत की ज़रूरत हमें पड़ती है जब हम कोई हिस्टोरिकल ट्रूथ लेते हैं, ट्रूथ ऑफ हिस्ट्री को लेते हैं, तो हमें प्रूव करना पड़ता है उस वक्त के न्यूज़पेपर से, बायोग्राफी से हम सबूत देते हैं। लेकिन पोइट्री के लिए एक्सटर्नल प्रूफ की ज़रूरत नहीं है, बल्कि इसके लिए पैशन और जज्बे की ज़रूरत है। जज्बे के साथ पोइट कहता है दिल से, और बात दिल में डायरेक्ट रीडर के जाती है। एक्सटर्नल वेरिफिकेशन इसलिए भी ज़रूरी नहीं है कि वर्ड्सवर्थ का ख्याल ये है कि हम में जो स्पिरिट पाई जाती है वो नेचुरल ऑब्जेक्ट्स में भी पाई जाती है। जब पोइट नेचर की बात करता है तो हम उसकी ट्रूथ को अचानक समझ लेते हैं कि ये ट्रूथ है, क्योंकि वही ट्रूथ, वही स्पिरिट हमें भी पाई जाती है। तो इसके लिए किसी और वेरिफिकेशन की ज़रूरत नहीं है। कॉलेज का ख्याल ये था कि जो ट्रूथ है ये पहले हम अपने अंदर देखते हैं, फिर इसके बाद ये हम यही ट्रूथ नेचर में देखते हैं। फर्ज करें हम खफा हैं तो हम हमें नेचर खफा नजर आए, और ये खफगान फिर दोबारा नेचर हमें वापस देगा। अगर हम खुश हैं तो नेचर हमें खुश नजर आएगा, और ये खुशी हमें नेचर दोबारा देगा। ये कॉलेज का ख्याल है, बायोग्राफी लिटरेरिया में हम इसको पढ़ेंगे। तो एक ही नेचर है जो रिवील्ड होता है माइंड ऑफ मैन में भी और नेचुरल ऑब्जेक्ट्स में भी। और माइंड ऑफ मैन हो या यूनिवर्सल ऑब्जेक्ट्स हो, ये गॉड की मैनिफेस्टेशन है, गॉड का इजहार इन दोनों में होता है, एफिनिटी पाई जाती है। हम एक दूसरे से इसी स्पिरिट के थ्रू मुंसलिक हैं, और जब कोई नेचर की बात करता है जो कि उसी स्पिरिट की बात के जो हम में है, तो हम उसको बगैर सबूत के पहचान लेते हैं। हम एक दूसरे से एक नेटवर्क के ज़रिए, वेब वर्क के ज़रिए मुंसलिक हैं, और ये वेब वर्क वही स्पिरिट बनाता है, हमें सिंगल ब्रदरहुड में डालता है, हमें सिंपैथी और लव एक दूसरे के लिए पैदा करता है। एक को नुकसान पहुंचता है तो दूसरे की भी तकलीफ होती है, क्योंकि हम एक ही स्पिरिट रखने वाले लोग हैं। So that's all for this fourth and second last topic of the uh, theory of poetry, Wordsworth's theory of poetry, as described in Preface to Lyrical Ballads. Thank you and good luck.